Welcome to the CloudFrontDesk tutorial. This time we will learn about reporting. More specifically, we will learn about cashier reports so that in the CloudFrontDesk, the cashier can make their respective reports according to their respective logins later. Every login or every cashier, those who log in, can make a report on the handover of money, how much income is the cashier's shift, which can later be handed over to another cashier. Good, and this time we will try to make a transaction. And how the effect will be in a good report from this dashboard. We see here on the right above there is a username, so this is the login name when you log in, or you can say this is the name of the cashier when logging in. Okay, from the dashboard to see from the report menu there is a cashier's report. It's in the cashier menu, then report now. There's a cashier's report today. Transactions are divided into 3 cash-only reports that are related to cash or how much cash on hand you have. Cash on hand, cashier. All these transactions are cash and others other than non-cash, room income and so on. The only one is close, meaning that the transaction has been handed over or has been closed by the cashier concerned, so there will be a closing process. There are currently no transactions at all, so we will try what is the effect of each column in these 3 columns, the effect of the transactions that we do. Okay. Let's first try transactions related to cash. Cash transactions are all transactions that have a cash value, meaning that cash on hand means that it can be calculated later what must be responsible for how much income during the shift. All of this will be related to payment, so it's related to cash, or later anything related to cash. We'll see at a glance. Right here, there is a setup of this revenue. If we edit this, there is a room revenue payment. Later, specifically, to discuss revenue and settlement, this element will be in a separate video. At a glance, there will be a cash payment. Yes, this is PYCS. If we edit one of these, there is a cash/bank account payment. Does it include cash/bank? If this is answered yes, then I will come back. Here, the results of the report will be entered. Go to the Your Cash Transaction column, for example, including guest folio. So, one of the contributors to the hassle is this guest folio, so anything that can affect the cashier's hassle, everything related to your transactions at the cashier, starting from the guest folio, petty cash, this bill transfer dummy, folio deposit list. If it is a deposit and has no effect on the deposit list, it will be when the guest checks in. So, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 menus that can make transactions. About the guest folio, we saw the hassle associated with cash, so if we are in the guest folio, if it is related to folios related to cash, for example, there is a payment such as a guest deposit. It is when the guest checks out, it pays, and so on. The group relates to cash. For example, we choose here about this guest bill. You can see in another video, the cashier comes. The cashier menu is an example. For example, select post payment. There is cash payment. For example, this if you want to check out, for example, how much is the bill for $12.91. So I want to check out, pay with cash. I choose, select, I write $12.91,000. Okay, add to bill. Okay, now, this is balance 0 later. Just checking out later. About checking out, we can see in the video about checking out. Obviously at this time today we are making transactions related to cash, so there is one cash transaction that is turning it off on behalf of Brian so he can check out like that. Let's try to check out. Okay, so Lisa has received the money in her drawer. She's in cash on hand amounting to $12.91. If we look at the hassle, now this is the cash payment for room 231-1291. This is cash. And another example, for example, there is a guest deposit TS, Seymour's name is he. Made a guest deposit payment guest, deposit there is a deposit that pays a guest, deposit so there's nothing with checking out, so for example he pays 2 million. There's a bill of 1 million, he only pays 2 million so there will be a minus or we make 1/2 this so that later there will be minus 500 okay add to bill now minus 500 now he hasn't checked out because it's still a long time, but today he made a guest deposit we'll see, here in the cashier report is there a guest deposit, now this is a guest deposit of 1,500,000 so, how much money is in Lisa's drawer, which is 2791 now, all transactions related to cash. We'll go into the cash hassle, so what's related to this is all okay, let's go back and look at this hassle, everything related to cash, which is related to the guest folio petty cash is also like, petty cash, for example, now we cash out, to, for example Brian approved by manager on duty by Flower, for example front desk tab E this has been table, number 1, for example, how much is 200,000 submits, so here is a cash out to. By Flowers a total of 200,000 submit okay so if we look at, this petty cash, it's troublesome. How much is it now going in and out means, the money only 2591, so it's reduced by 200, okay, now apart from this, there, are all transactions. Now, all transactions, are not only cash, so all transactions are not only cash. For example, there is a minibar bill, for example, or a restaurant, bill at one of the guests, for example, this, select bill, how many restaurant bills are there, for example, 700 add to bill okay, Lisa's transaction besides cash there, was also a restaurant. Now if she reports that the cashier is troublesome, now there is no cash only. This restaurant is still here, there was only, this restaurant, 700, so look here the total is 700, this, is the total is this and the total, is a total payment of 250 guest ledgers. Movement revenue, this is only 700, this is the revenue payment. This is the assumption. A guest ledger, movement is 1 less than 1891 later this can be related to the accounting report but this is only an assumption, because if there is anything related to non-guest ledgers, it means that this has nothing to do with guest ledger cash, this by interest has nothing to do with guest ledger then this doesn't look right, because it has to be reduced first, but the assumption is that this rarely buys flowers, this rarely, means if there is no expenditure, this means that this is true, so it must be reduced first with non-cash because this is related to the guest ledger, this assumption must be minus the non-guest buying this flower, so the report is like that. There will also be a night audit report, there will also be an audit here. Tonight there will be an audit, so if you want to enter the transaction rooms, all of them are here, where in the night audit at a glance, we will see here at night, this audit has a daily rate, now all of these numbers will also be included in the report later, tonight, yes, this is a trial we will discuss everything, later about the audit, we will discuss it further in the next video, after this, okay. All transactions are like that, transfer, bills also affect, here, only the difference is that later there will be pluses and minuses, so it doesn't actually move in total. Okay, after this, everything was done on Lisa's shift. After the end of the day the check, how much money does he hold? Should be the same as this, after that it is printed, this is a print for reports, related to cash, there should be a cash handover between, shift 1 to shift 2, shift 2 to shift 3, what is the amount that is held printed here it should be, the same so there shouldn't be a difference, how much is this now how much money must be deposited 2591, from anywhere from here and here. Okay like that now this can be printed, all transactions, can also be printed okay, after everything is correct, after all transactions are correct, everything is checked, if the guest folio is correct, then after seeing all the transactions, okay,
that means I have to deposit my cash. Okay, that's right. After that, we close the closing. This means that after we close, it means that today's report is finished. Lisa can go home because she has finished, so she is closed first, which means that later if someone logs in using Lisa's name, it will be different from what they are now. Because the closing has now been completed, yes. So, there are transactions. What are non-financial ones that have been done in closing, just this closing? What's the difference between closing later on in the night, audit report? It looks like which ones have been closed and which haven't. But the assumption is that Lisa wants to go home after finishing the shift. He has to close first. Closing. Are you sure to close the open transaction? Okay, what happened? It went blank, so it's a closed transaction. So, here are all transactions that have been closed or have been approved by Lisa herself and have been accepted by the next shift. Well, that's a glimpse of the cashier's report. Hopefully it can be understood, and please try to transfer other transactions. Thank you.